Good afternoon. Okay, today we are going to learn Mesilat Yesharim, perek Gimel, part 2. B'Shem Hashem Naaseh V'Natzliach. May Hashem in the Zehut, this shiur is dedicated to the safety and safe return of our hostages and soldiers. May Hashem bring them back home soon. Refuah Shlema Torah Cholim, our soldiers, and Abraham ben Chana, Zechariah Dov ben Pearl Shira, Ora Badalia, Shimon Daniel ben Michal, and to all our singles, Shizku Livnot Bait Neman B'Yisrael B'Kedusha U'B'Tahara, and Le'ilui Nishmat, all those who were murdered on October 7 and since. And thank you to all my listeners for tuning in. May Hashem bless you with bracha and hatzlacha, nachat from your children for all your continued dedication. And thank you, Hashem, for all your chasadim and your nisim that you performed and you continue to perform for us. So to recap, in part 1 of perek Gimel 23, chapter 23, the Ramchal says our actions will have an influence on us as long as we perform to achieve our goal of removing Ga'ava from our heart. So our action will actually influence us to take away or remove slowly this feeling of pride, of arrogance. So Ramchal says, so how do we acquire anava? How do we acquire humbleness? To achieve anava, Ramchal says it is a process that involves 4 different ways of thinking, of contemplation. Ramchal explains that whatever success a person has, a person is not the author. It's not really mine. Why not? It means that the success is not due because of my hard work or one's hard work or my great talents, since it is all a gift from Hashem. Everything, the success is a gift from Hashem. The talents are a gift from Hashem. The good brains are a gift from Hashem. So in order to achieve anava, one must understand the truth. So here, the Ramchal is teaching us other ways of thinking to achieve this goal of finding the truth, getting to the bottom of the truth. Because it can't be achieved through logical arguments, but rather through thoughts that cultivate, that plant a feeling of anava in the heart. So the first way, number 1, the Ramchal brings the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, and he says like this: Akavya ben Mehalalel, Rabbi Akavya ben Mehalalel, Omer says, he says 3 things. Number 1, da me'ayin bata. You have to know where you came from. And he answers, metipa sehura, seroha. You came from a lowly seed. Number 2, v'lachen v'le'an ata holech. Where are you going? Limakom afar rima v'tolea. Where are you going? At the end of your days, you're going to dust and worms. Body becomes worms. It becomes food for the worms. Then number 3, v'lefnei mi ata atid liten din v'cheshbon. You are going to have to reckon, to give dinech and cheshbon, meaning you are going to be standing in front of Hashem in judgment. Remember You are going to stand in front of whom? Lifnei melech malchei hamelachim. You're going to be standing in front of Hashem. All these thoughts are in fact against Ga'ava, and they help acquire anava. Now Ramchal is going to break down each one of these points from the Perek Avot. Let's see what he says. So Ramchal explains, where do you come from? Me'ayin bata. Da me'ayin bata. You have to know where you come from. Where do we come from? When we think and we consider how a person is created, the lowliness of the material and the composition of the material, the inferiority of the origin of a person, then one will find that he has no reason to feel superiority, to feel better and above anyone else. But instead, one should feel embarrassed and ashamed. And the Ramchal brings an example of a man who used to be a herdsman. He used to take care of pigs. And somehow, over time changed and he became a king. However, even as a king, whenever he remembered his early days as a herdsman of pigs, he could not feel pride in his position, still had these feelings of inferiority. Actually, this reminds me also of Achashverosh. Achashverosh was not really the son of a king. He became a king because he became very wealthy. He found the treasures of the Bet HaMikdash. That's because through wealth he became wealthy. But when Vashti refused to come to him, when told her, "Come, wearing your crown," he got very mad at her. Why? Because she said, "Who do you think you are that you're going to order me around? You're only a stable boy. That's who you are. Your beginnings were just that of a regular, lowly servant." So here too, the Ramchal tells us, we too, when we remember our humble beginnings, where it all started, we just can't feel pride. We just need to remember that. Number 2. In the Mishnah it says, Le'an ata holech? Where are you going at the end of your life? When one thinks that at the end of our greatness, at the end of after 120 years, one is buried under 6 feet under the ground, we will turn into afar, into dust, and food for worms. That for sure, then certainly that will bring down our pride and make us forget our arrogance. For what value is one's good fortune or greatness when at the end we are humiliated and shamed because this is what's going to become of us? We can think highly of ourselves as achievers and makers and movers and doers. These feelings will fill us up with arrogance. But what good is it when at the end we end up rich and poor, slave, free man? We all end up the same way, as dust and food for worms. Then the Ramchal continues with the Mishnah and says, "Velifnei mi ata atid liten din vecheshbon, lifnei melech malchei hamelachim." Think about where are you're going to stand in judgment, but in front of whom? front of Melech Malchei HaMelachim, in front of the King of Kings. That's definitely is a way of forgetting our pride when we think and we imagine and think and imagine being in a court, in big, huge court, right? The moment we're going to stand there in front of Hashem to give an accounting of our lives and of all our deeds, we will be standing in front of Hashem, Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMelachim. One will forget his pride when he thinks and imagines the moment he will stand in front of Hashem and sees that he's standing in front of Kedusha, surrounded by Malachim who are pure, holy, and perfect beings. And one is standing as a human being, as an inferior being, and not honorable being, and an impure being, and soiled and dirty and disgraced because of our actions. Because our actions make us dirty. So how can one raise his head? How can one lift up his head with pride? Will he be able to defend himself, standing there in front of Hashem? And when asked, where is your pride that you carried in your world? Hashem is going to ask us, now where's your pride? Where's your tongue? What possible answer can we give to Hashem? You know, a while ago, I don't know, maybe over a year ago, over a year ago, I had gone to visit my son. He lives in Arizona. So he took us to Sedona. Sedona is an area where they have these huge mountain, beautiful, with beautiful colors. These mountains are just unbelievable. We stood there in front of those mountains. I really felt as small as this, tiny. It was really humiliating. It made me feel humble at that moment in front of those huge, beautiful creations that Hashem had created. And there is no doubt, coming back to the Ramchal, there is no doubt that if a person were to imagine this truth in his mind for even one moment with good, vivid imagination, let your imagination run, all his pride would disappear. This is what the Ramchal says. The pride would disappear. Now, the second way the Ramchal says that one of thinking to get rid of ga'ava, of arrogance, is that life is a cycle. Today one is poor, tomorrow he can be rich, can be on top of the world. Today he's a slave or just a regular person. Tomorrow he can be a manager, a CEO, can become very important. The honored can become disgraced. That means that consequences of time are unpredictable. Time is unpredictable. We don't know. Today, now I feel like this. Today I have this position. Tomorrow, I'm nothing. Nobody would even look at me. How can one feel pride in one's position if he is not assured that it will last? How can I feel pride in my position, my honored position, when I don't know how long it's going to last? I don't know. Will it last tomorrow? And the day after? And the day after that? Ramchal explains even more. Thinking about one's humble beginnings and origin eliminates feelings of pride at that time, like a moment when you're feeling, if, you have, when I have feelings of pride, I'm supposed to remind myself, where do I come from? I'm nothing. And where am I going? Nowhere. Just to the dust and food to be food for the worms. Just like that herdsman who was taking care of the pigs, and he became a king. Just those memories of the past, right? Those memories had, they have, they were effective, right? But the, their effectiveness actually was limited. Why? Because the person moves forward. After a while, the king got used to being the king, and he even forgot it of his humble beginnings. We don't stand still, says we move forward. But thinking about one's end is more effective and causes pride to be restrained and forgotten for at least a period of time. Whether the impression of our imagination will last or not, that really depends on how honest we are with ourselves about wanting to get rid of Gava. And here I have a story about, it took place in Poland, about Rabbi Shlomo Rothschild, and from the family of the Rothschild. He was a very, very, very successful man, very wealthy, very, whatever he dealt with, it was perfect. It was unbelievable. There was a bracha in everything that he did. Didn't matter what business. And of course, he had more than one business at a time. However, there was a man, let's call him John, and who was also very wealthy, not a Jewish man, but he felt so much jealousy toward this Rabbi Shlomo. Why is he so successful? And he's a Jew. How come? There has to be something that he does that's not correct. It's not correct, and it's not legal. And he tried to dig into the businesses and tried to find something that was not legal. Couldn't find anything. Nothing at all. Then he started talking to the maids and the workers that worked for Rabbi Shlomo, asking questions here and there. Nothing. Even bribe them. Nothing. There was nothing that he could find, until one day one maid said, there's one room. Only the master, Rabbi Shlomo, he's the only one who has the key. Nobody goes into this room, not even his wife, not his kids. No one is allowed. Nobody goes there, not even to clean the room. That's all there is. But I don't know what's in the room. So right away said, aha, it must be that he has in there money that he stole, or goods that were stolen, and he's storing them in there. There has to be. There has to be also a safe of things that he had from the government. So right away, he went to the chief of police, and he said, this Mr. Rothschild, he has goods, and he has he doesn't pay taxes on, and they are stolen, and he built up a whole story, a whole case against this Rabbi Shlomo. And he said, since he was such an influential person, this John, Mr. John, that he said, we have to go to his house and investigate, and I will come with you. Sure enough, they decide on a day when the chief of police goes with a few officers, and they go knocking on the door. That day happened, and that moment happened to be that Rabbi Shlomo was home. The maid called Rabbi Shlomo. Rabbi Shlomo said, yes, can I help you? He said, yes. We need to search your house. Okay, go. They were searching every room, everywhere, up, down, everywhere. And then they came upstairs into a different level of the house. And there were a few rooms. They went into the rooms. And then the chief of police tried to open one room. It wouldn't open. It was locked. So he said, Mr. Rothschild, open this room. Now Mr. Rothschild turned around and he says, look, whatever you think, whatever amount you think I'm not paying in taxes, I will pay. I will even double the amount. But please, I beg of you, do not ask me to open the door. Oh, now the chief of police already was already suspicious. For sure now, he wouldn't give in. No. You're going to open the door. And he put so much pressure on Rabbi Shlomo. Rabbi Shlomo had no choice. He was really sad. He was broken inside that he had to open that room. And so he opened the room. He unlocked it, unlocked the door, opened the room. And the chief of police, the officers, and Mr. John, they all went in. What was in the room? Nothing. No furniture. No hangings on the walls. No window. Nothing. In the middle of the room, there was a tomb, a kever, a tomb. It had a tombstone. On the tombstone, it said, Rabbi Shlomo Rothschild. The chief is looking around and is looking around. What's the meaning of this? Mr. John was shocked. What's the meaning of this? And obviously they asked, what's the meaning of this room? With a pained heart, Rabbi Shlomo explained, you see, I have many businesses. God blessed me with wealth. I don't want to forget that it's all God's doing. It's Hashem who's giving me all of everything that I own. It's not me. And for me not to be filled with arrogance, with pride, I come here every day. And every day I spend a few moments. And just to remind myself that all my wealth, all my honor and respect that I get at the end of my life, I will end up just like the poorer person. I will end up in dust and I'll be food for worms. So I do this because I don't want to become arrogant. That feeling of shame, of embarrassment, that will take hold of me and it will stay with me so strong that ga'ava, that pride will be pushed away from my heart. And so goes on the Ramchal. How many times we see people who were at the top and unfortunately they lost it all. They are the ones running around begging and asking for help. And many times they ask for help from the very people that they had pushed away and ignored. So just knowing this fact that we see with our own eyes, We see life around us. We see people who were at the top and then they're at the bottom. People were at the bottom and now are at the top. That should be enough to walk around without pride. Number three, the third way of thinking, the Ramchal says, how we performed, we need to remember and think about how we perform our mitzvot. Many times, the performance is not really the best, or that we just completely neglect Hashem. We forget. We don't do what we're supposed to be doing. So how can we have pride? How can we have pride with such a poor performance? Then we'll be ashamed. Can we feel pride? We will be humiliated and not arrogant. As the Navi says, Navi Yirmiyahu says, when Ben Israel did teshuvah, ki acharei shuvi, after my return, after I did teshuvah, nihamti, I regretted, ve'acharei hivadai, after becoming aware of my sins, safakti al yarech, I slapped my thigh in shame, in humility. Boshti vegam nichlamti. I was ashamed. I was humiliated. Ephraim here, the David talks about, it's not just Shevet Ephraim, the tribe of Ephraim. It's really actually referring to the 10 tribes who lived in the north of Eretz Israel, and they had been ruled by kings from Shevet Ephraim. And the fourth way of thinking, the Ramchal says, above all, we should think about the human intellect. Human intellect can be strong, but it also can be weak. And because it has moments of weakness, it makes mistakes. For a human being is constantly closer to errors, to make mistakes, than to true knowledge. Therefore, we must constantly fear this danger, the danger of the weaknesses of our sechel, of our brains, of making mistakes, and constantly learn from every person. And the Ramchal brings the Perek Avot, where it says, Ezehu chacham halomed mikol adam. Who is wise? One who learns from everyone. It means you look around, you live and you look around and you see how people live and what they do, what are their actions, who is successful, who is not successful, who fell into his own pitfall, who actually was able to rise himself, help himself, right? And in Mishlei, Shlomo HaMelech said, Shomea le'etzah chacham. A wise man is the one who listens to advice. So one cannot rely only on his own wisdom because of the weaknesses of the human intellect. Thinking this truth, if we think and we are honest, this truth is imperative. It means it's so important. It's this thing we must do the whole time. That we cannot rely only on our own intellect, because it affects every decision and every action I make. And we must remember, we need guidance. I need guidance since we are constantly in danger of error. Since I am constantly in danger of error. So, to finish off, I would like to share a thought. We are about 10 days away from Rosh Hashanah. We all need to use this special time to increase our mitzvot and improve the performance of our mitzvot, and learning about the Yom Hadin and increase our learning in Torah. The Yom Hadin that is coming soon, in fact, is coming too soon. Hashem has given us an opportunity to make a change, to improve in our observance, and get closer to Him, build our relationship to a better one. So let the words of the Ramchal penetrate our heart so we can deserve a better and safer new year. Shana Tova Umetuka. May our hostages and soldiers come home to celebrate Rosh Hashanah with their families. Nothing is above Hashem, and nothing is too much for Hashem. Chachamim explained to us, just one thought that came quickly to me. Chachamim explained to us that with the power of a tefillah, we can change. We can change a lot. So, for example, when a woman is pregnant, let's say the woman would like to have a boy. Within the first 40 days of her pregnancy, when the fetus is being formed, with her tefillah, a woman can change it. If it's meant to be a girl, it can become a boy. If it's meant to be a boy, it can become a girl. That's within the first 40 days of the pregnancy of a woman. And Chachamim tell us, from Rosh Hashanah until Yom Kippur, we have 40 days. That means with our tefillah, we can change the outcome of whatever Hashem judges for us, for the judge of the judgment. With our tefillah, let's just be more conscientious about our tefillah, what we say and what comes out from our mouth for the rest of the day. Good afternoon, and see you next time.